What McLaren just did to Oscar Piastri after new evidence emerged might change everything. The Singapore Grand Prix wasn't supposed to go down like this. Not for Oscar Piastri, not for McLaren, and definitely not for fans watching what was meant to be a glorious chapter in McLaren's comeback story. Instead, it's turned into a viral storm, a drama-fueled episode that's starting to feel less like a race weekend and more like the opening scenes of a betrayal. Because what happened between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris in Singapore, what happened on lap 1, turn 3, has blown the lid off something much deeper inside McLaren. This isn't just about a racing incident, it's about favoritism, it's about fairness, and it's about a championship leader slowly watching the foundations underneath him start to crack. Let's rewind. Oscar Piastri starts 3rd on the grid, Lando Norris is 5th, the lights go out, and in just seconds, Norris dives into an aggressive lunge. He taps Verstappen's Red Bull, and then clips Piastri. Just like that, Norris jumps ahead of his teammate, through contact, through chaos, through rules that, according to McLaren themselves, forbid contact between their drivers. And what does Oscar say? Yeah, I mean that wasn't very team-like, but sure. His voice? Calm, controlled, but behind it, disbelief, confusion, betrayal. Moments later, his tone sharpens. So, are we cool with Lando just barging me out of the way, or what's the go there? His race engineer Tom Stallard responds, "We're looking at it. Let me get back to you." That pause, that "let me get back to you," it told Oscar everything he needed to know. A few laps later, Stallard radios in. No further action from the stewards. As a team, we can see Lando had to avoid Verstappen, so we won't take any action during the race. We can review further. Afterwards, Oscar doesn't hold back. That's not fair. I'm sorry, that's not fair. If he has to avoid another car by crashing into his teammate, then that's a pretty shit job of avoiding. He didn't scream, he didn't rage, but every word cut deeper than any tire lockup. Because this wasn't just about Singapore, this was about Hungary, about Monza, about a pattern. Back in Monza, Piastri let Norris pit first. Then McLaren delayed Lando's stop, and, somehow, Oscar ended up in front. Then, they ordered Piastri to move aside and give the place back. At the time, Piastri obeyed. But now, it's all starting to build, and then came the moment that turned this from a team drama into something much bigger. As the race ended in Singapore, and CEO Zak Brown came onto the radio to thank Oscar for his performance, the camera caught something that ignited the internet. Oscar unplugged his radio. Some fans called it the villain arc. Others claimed he was done with the team. McLaren would rather Max wins the title than Oscar, one fan wrote. What a pathetic fake team. Another post simply said, "Finally." Oscar's villain arc is complete over 60,000 views in an hour, nearly 5,000 likes, and one rising storm of tension that even McLaren can't mute. But was it intentional? McLaren tried to cool the fire, saying Oscar had already shut the car off before Zak spoke, that he never heard the message, but by then the clip had already gone viral, and the damage was done. Because whether or not Oscar heard Zak doesn't matter. What matters is what people saw, and what Oscar felt. And here's the real kicker. Oscar didn't just stay quiet. After the race, he spoke, and his words were polite, yes, but filled with coded meaning. There have obviously been some difficult situations for the whole team. We have obviously spoken about a number of things, he said. Could things have been better at certain points? Yes. I am very, very happy that the intentions are very well-meaning, if that makes sense. I have absolutely no concerns about that. Obviously, there have been some tough situations this year. This is another one, read between the lines. Well-meaning. Could things have been better? This is another one. Oscar knows exactly what's happening. He's watching a season slip, a title fight twist, and decisions, moment after moment, not going his way. Meanwhile, Lando's post-race comments couldn't be more different. It was slippery, But it's racing, he said. No apology, no concern, no sign that he viewed it as anything more than a tough start. And that's the difference. Oscar sees a pattern. Lando sees racing. So where does McLaren go from here? Andrea Stella, McLaren's team boss, says there will be good conversations, just like there were after Canada, after Monza. He wants to believe they can all hold hands and come back stronger, but fans aren't buying it. And maybe neither is Oscar. Because what happens when your own team doesn't step in to defend you? What happens when they tell you they'll review things afterwards, but they never really change? And what if this isn't just frustration? What if it's a breaking point? Let's not forget what McLaren said they stood for. They preached equal opportunity, equal equipment. May the best man win, Zak Brown told the media not long ago. But what happens when your equal opportunity starts to look like silent favoritism? Back in Hungary, Piastri was the lead McLaren car going into the race, championship leader, form on point. But strategy calls in that race handed the win to Norris. Some said it was just bad luck. Others whispered, was it orchestrated? In Monza, the whispers grew louder. Oscar pitted first, undercut Lando, and took the lead. But then came the team order. Swap back. Oscar wasn't happy. He questioned it. He obeyed. But deep down, you could feel it. Trust, chipping away. And then, Singapore. A clean qualifying. A clean start. Oscar ahead. Then contact. Then silence from the pit wall. Then the radio unplug. We can't say Oscar's checked out, but he's clearly checking his surroundings. Because this is what no one at McLaren seems to grasp. When a young driver feels the balance of power tilting away from him, despite doing everything right, it creates a fracture. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet pressure that grows with every lap, every quote, every radio message. And when Piastri unplugged that radio, even if accidental, it felt symbolic. It felt like a driver disconnecting from the narrative being fed to him, from the team politics, from the illusion of equal treatment. Andrea Stella insists, we want our drivers to make their position very clear. And Oscar did exactly that. He has to avoid another car by crashing into his teammate. That's a pretty shit job of avoiding. That's not a comment you make when you're slightly annoyed. That's what you say when you're done pretending everything's fine. Even Stella himself admitted the challenge. When you race together as a team, you can't have exactly the same interest for the two drivers. They want to pursue their aspirations. He's right. And yet, McLaren's entire 2025 identity is built on the idea that they can. That they do give both drivers the same shot. That this isn't a team of number ones and number twos. But perception is everything. And from where fans are standing, Oscar Piastri has been on the wrong side of that line one too many times. Norris, for his part, has played the politics game well. On the radio, he keeps it clean. In the press, he shrugs things off. It was slippery, but it's racing. Short, sweet, deny, deflect, drive on. But to Oscar, that slip was a shove, that racing move, a breach. And when the team brushed it under the rug, Oscar didn't just feel overlooked, he felt set up. Let's zoom out for a second. Oscar Piastri leads Lando Norris by 22 points heading into the United States Grand Prix. Verstappen, closing in, just 63 points behind, 6 races to go. Every position matters. And in Singapore, Oscar qualified ahead, started ahead, got hit, lost the place, and finished 4th, 1 spot behind the teammate who put him there. That's not just lost points. That's lost momentum, lost morale, and maybe a lost season. Meanwhile, the media circus is growing. Fans are calling for Oscar to jump ship. He should leave and join Red Bull, one post said. Another, McLaren would rather Max win than Oscar. Some are joking about Oscar's villain arc. But here's the twist. Maybe it's not a villain arc at all. Maybe it's a hero arc. Misunderstood, a champion who trusted too long, believed too much, and now he's done waiting for someone else to make it right. And here's the real bombshell. McLaren's internal review of the incident? Still pending. Stella promises good conversations. Again. But how many good conversations does it take before the driver with the most points, the most patience, and the most to lose decides he's had enough? Because this isn't about just one incident anymore. This is about the story McLaren is writing, and whether Oscar Piastri still wants to be a character in it. Will they fix it in time? Can they restore the trust? Or is this the beginning of the end? The constructor's title is in the bag, but what about the drivers? And more importantly, what happens next if McLaren's golden boy doesn't feel like gold anymore? Let us know what you think in the comments. Has McLaren mishandled their rising star? Is Piastri right to feel frustrated? And most of all, is this the start of something far bigger than a racing incident? Because sometimes, silence says more than words, and unplugging that radio might have been the loudest thing Oscar's ever said.